Yay! Wow, we have just had a blast being able to kind of chat with each other ahead of time over here. We're so glad that you guys are here and joining us, and hopefully you guys are getting a little bit more prepared for the holiday season as the days are starting to tick down. Well, guess what else is ticking down? Impact 3. Impact 3 is gonna start your new year like it's going to blow you away. We have so many incredible speakers. I was just looking in the back in the portal where I've spent some lovely time with each of the speakers ahead of time taping their sessions. And we've got over 17 speakers who've already taped their sessions inside of there, which is absolutely incredible. You're gonna be mind blown. And today you're gonna get to meet two of those speakers. You're gonna get to meet Nathaniel and Vanessta. But before I introduce you to them, check this out. If you haven't signed on up yet, there is a link inside of the description. And not only that, you guys, but this is also being sponsored by TutorBird. TutorBird is an incredible back office to your tutoring business. And what I love about it is that, like, oh my gosh, every tutor says to me, I wish I knew about TutorBird earlier. Like, so, don't be one of those tutors who's like, yeah, I'm gonna wait. You will not find anything that is on the market that is at a cheaper price point that's gonna help you run the back office of your business. So definitely check it out. And thanks again to TutorBird for being the official sponsor, not only of this channel, but also of the Impact event. So today we've got Vanessta Spark, who is joining us. And Vanessta is going to be sharing during the conference all about the power of responding and not reacting. And some of you might be like, well, of course that's a better idea, but you're really going to get to see, like, how does this make a difference inside of your tutoring business? Because, a lot of times we are human beings, right? Things happen and we can easily get flustered or frustrated, but Vanessa is going to walk us through a very calm process to how to deal with those kinds of situations so that people want to refer us more for our services. Now, Vanessa has been a teacher and administrator in the education world for over 40 years. And after experiencing burnout and a 2-year depression, which led to a loss of her teaching position and going on disability, she began a new life with a different mindset, one from performance, perfection, and people pleasing to a new mindset of Christ awareness and grace. And her passion now is to mentor and equip women with Christ inspired tools and empowerment. Now, something that you guys don't know about Vanessa is she actually was a math tutor for quite a while before she started this journey with being able to help people with mindset. So, welcome, Vanessa. So glad you are here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
Oh my gosh, I just light up every time I see you. You have this lightness and this grace about you that is so addictive. Like, I could hang out with you every day, I swear.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you. Well, you're fun, Joanne,
Well,
and
thank you.
resourceful. Yes.
That's the goal, right? The goal is to be of
Yes.
value, right? And that's the biggest goal that we can possibly give. And I just want to say thank you for being of value at this conference and sharing your
Yes.
wisdom with us.
Yes. I love it. Wherever I can help people share some tools that I've helped myself,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Yes.
So how did you go from from out of the school system to tutoring to now on this journey with helping people with mindset?
Well, I actually retired. So I was in the education field for over 40 years, like you said. And then I retired and I started tutoring math and I used the Ultimate Support Group. as a helpful resource and being in the Insiders Club and built my business. And there was just, while I was math tutoring, I did some research about the growth and fixed mindset and with Dr. Carol Dweck. And so I was learning how can students best learn. Does the mind play a more important role than we think? And after I did some research with that, I was just and reflecting back on my life and the depression that I had, I combined the neuroscience, the psychology, and my faith all together and wrote a course, Educating from the Inside Out. And I thought after that time, it was important for me to get out and work with women and their mindset.
Mm.
Yeah,
I love that. I
yeah,
love that. And I think, what's incredible in my own journey, um I really struggled my first year of teaching. Like I struggled immensely. It was a brand new school. So we got a lot of the kids who weren't really welcome at their old school coming to our school. It was a charter school. And I had seen things in the inner city that I had never seen in my entire life. I came home crying every single day because of just the trauma I was experiencing on a daily basis that I was not used to, like kids like throwing chairs and hitting their heads against like metal objects and crawling around the floor. Like I just did not grow up with that, and I was not familiar with that, and it was absolutely terrible. And the next year, my principal in my school said, "Hey, there's this class. It's called anger management. Would you be interested in taking it?" And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I so need this because I need to learn how to handle the anger that my students have towards life and living and all of this stuff, right?" And here's what I learned: I had anger management issues. And
yes,
when I
yeah,
was able to then take care of my anger management issues, I was now able to come at it from a whole different perspective. And I built the most beautiful classroom of kids who respected each other, sort of liked each other. I mean, they weren't kicking each other underneath the tables anymore, so that was a good thing. And I could kind of teach them better than I was teaching, my first year students. I feel bad if you are one of those first year students and you're watching this right now. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I did the best that I could. In the midst of all of that, somehow some learning did happen, I'm pretty sure, but I am just so grateful for that experience. And this is very similar. Like, we don't realize what we bring to the table when we start our tutoring business, and what are some of those personal beliefs and systems that we have to kind of learn more about so that we can do a better job of serving the students and the parents that we're meant to work with. So I love that. We
yes,
also have here today, we've got Daniel Dohlquist with us, and he is going to be talking all about small potatoes to big money growing a tutoring business. And Nathaniel has actually tutored professionally since graduating from Yale in 2015. Well, look at that, Yale graduate. You guys, I just bring you the best. See what I mean? Look at Yale. Wow, are you kidding me? He's lived in both New York City and LA with high-end clients, has built a six-figure tutoring business, and now primarily as a standardized test and college admissions tutor. And he specializes in helping students discover authenticity in their writing. So welcome, Nathaniel. So glad to have you.
Oh, thanks so much, Joanne. It's great to be here. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So you went from Yale, so you took a different path. You didn't go straight from like a teaching world like Vanessta did. You actually came straight from Yale right on into this entire path. How did that all happen?
What a great question. So yeah, I studied theater at Yale. I'm an actor, a professional actor. So when I was graduating from Yale, I was like, well, what can I do? Because I don't want a regular 9 to 5 job, because that just didn't really work with the life that I wanted to build for myself. And tutoring was a really great option. And I did it as a side hustle for years and years. And then I was getting paid so little by the tutoring companies I was working for that I sort of broke out on my own and developed my own private client base and sort of did it just as myself for years actually. And it has really, it's helped me pay the bills while I pursue my creative and artistic lifestyle. And in the past year or so, I got very serious about building the business itself. And I hired a bunch of tutors because I'm very lucky to have had so many students that I couldn't take them all. So because it's very, very difficult, as everybody knows, tutoring is a very like high, you have to be very present and very on for that time that you're with the student. So it can be very draining, and you have a limited capacity to teach.
Yeah.
So I built my company with my business partner, Alex Friedman, who runs Brooklyn Math Tutors in New York City. And over the past year, built my business to a place where I, as a tutor, earn over six figures, and so does the business. So it's been really, really fun and really hard. But
Yes.
in our presentation, Alex and I sort of talk about the specific ways that that both of us went from like being individual tutors who had our own private clients or worked for companies into developing a company. And it's a very different job. Being the CEO of a company is a very different job from like tutoring and teaching. And as someone who's doing both right now, I think that it's a really different skill set, and there's a lot to learn that I learned. So hopefully with our presentation, some people can skip some of the rockier parts, and get some shortcuts to how to get that on the fast track. So it's been a really exciting year for me and for my business and company, and I'm really excited to get to share some of that stuff. I've got a podcast, the Top Tutor Podcast, and our Tutor Empire podcast that Alex and I do together, that Joanne has been interviewed for. Very excited. And it's been really fun because one of the things that we love to do is share information for free with clients and potential clients that you could get anywhere else, but that it would be helpful if you got it from a real professional instead of just the internet, like in general. And so because we have the expertise, and so we'd like to share it with people. So recently, the last episode we published is my 45-minute SAT, ACT spiel that I give potential clients when they call me for consults, because those consults are free. So I might as well just give the spiel to anybody who wants it. So, and it was like 45 minutes and I was talking fast. So it was very funny to listen to myself do it when I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot of information. So anyway, that's all a lot of fun, and we're always building new things and trying to be of service to our clients. So it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's the cool thing about like us coming together for this conference too. There is a lot of information that's being thrown at you. Some of the information you can start and apply to use now. Some of the information is for like later down the road. But knowing about that information is so helpful because then you know where to go or what to do or who to turn to so that you can be able to get there faster. And that's the whole point of all this, so that you can skip the line. I was thinking about this, like especially right now. Okay, so it's holiday season, right, guys? And have you ever, like, had to go fly somewhere during the holiday season? Both
Oh
of you actually
yeah.
just flew somewhere, didn't you? Did you
I
both
Yes.
just
drove,
fly?
but
Oh, you
yes.
drove.
Yeah.
Okay, so but you've been there. You've been like, it's a busy season, right? Getting through the line at TSA is like, you like look at that and you're like, oh God, am I even gonna make my plane on time, even if I left early, right? Well, guess what? My husband has a skip the line card. He can skip the line. He's TSA approved. Are you guys TSA approved?
Oh,
I yeah.
it was the best
You did. Yeah.
$125 I ever spent
Yeah.
in my life. TSA
Yeah.
pre-check,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
good for you guys. You guys are smart. I just been kind of sitting on this and watching him go through the line. And finally, he looked at me when we went to Dominican Republic just recently, and he's like, "You need to get TSA approved. Like, we need to stop doing this." And I was like, "Okay, just tell me what I need to do. I'll do it. It's that straightforward for me." And so he sent me the link, and I just filled it on out, and I put my money on down, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is what we do for our the people who come to us or the people that join us in the community." We help them skip the line. It's a little bit of a fee, like in the beginning, compared to all of the time and headache that we're going to save later on, right? You just get to skip the line. I don't even think you have to take off your shoes. And you may even get to leave on your coat or something. Like, I don't know. It was like little things like that. I'm like, that's a big deal to people. I'm like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, but my husband is like, no, this is a big deal. Like, I'm not going to stand in line for you and have to take my shoes off. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, all right, whatever. I will get TSA approved for you. So our next trip to New York that we're taking in a couple of months, I'll be able to take my daughter with me through the fast lane and skip the line. And if you guys come to Impact, guess what? You're gonna get to skip the line too. Skip the line to people who are trying to learn all of this stuff the slow way, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to learn it all at once. You just take one piece at a time. So I would love to hear from you guys when you were starting your tutoring business. what were some of the things that were frustrating for you as you were going through that? Because I know everybody experiences overwhelm in the beginning when they're just getting started.
I think for me, it was that there was just so many things. It's not only the
Yeah.
online teaching, it's the business aspect of it, and then I think that the hardest thing for me was marketing, coming up with a website and talking to other teachers within the district and trying to get my name out there. And the
Mhm.
online world is busy. So I think marketing was one of the hardest things for me you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. How about for you, Nathaniel?
Oh, I got so tired of chasing people for money.
Yeah.
Before I had my
Mm.
automated billing and my automatic invoicing set up, it was so frustrating, and I felt so awful being like, you owe me like hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Like, please pay me. And it was just terrible. And when I switched to automated invoicing and automated credit card withdrawals, basically, it totally changed my life. It gave me so much space back, and I just like didn't have to worry about that. And of course, there are a couple of clients that I like still have to chase from time to time, but it's so much less than, having a full roster of students and then having to teach them and prepare for the lessons, and then also always be asking the parents for money, which doesn't feel good,
No.
because it's
Yeah.
like, I provided this service to you. Why am I having to annoy you and myself by being like, please pay me? So that
Yeah.
changing that structure absolutely changed my life. It was such a boon to develop that. And I use Tutor Cruncher, but Tutorbird has the exact same thing, I think, where it just helps you do that automatically. And it
Mhm.
does cost some money to do that, a couple of cents, maybe a couple of dollars for each transaction. But honestly, that couple of bucks is super worth the time and annoyance for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
and with Tutorbird, it's, they don't charge anything for the transaction. It's Stripe or PayPal that has to obviously honor the credit card fees. That's a given, and then Stripe or PayPal might have, like, some kind of a transaction fee, but I know Tutorbird does not take a percentage of that at all. You just pay, like, the $15 a month for your account, and here's what I look at it as, we used to have that person sitting at the front desk, right, who would kind of handle managing everybody, scheduling, and then they would be the ones that would be handling maybe the invoicing and doing all the back office type of stuff. You no longer have to pay a full-time person to do that. You can pay your $15 a month and have all those resources. Just set it and forget it, and you're done. It's like now all you have to really focus on is your tutoring business, which is
Mhm.
so such a huge life changer. So I know, Vanessa, you're going to be talking all about this this power of responding and not reacting. What is one tip or kind of teaser that you can give people right now on that topic?
Well, when I was in education, I was in education as a teacher, administrator, and then as a tutor. I think the biggest tip that I can give anyone is to be aware of the thoughts that are going through your head and pause. When you feel anger, overwhelm, I think it's really important to take deep breaths and pause. Now, everybody talks about that,
Mhm.
and everybody thinks, yes, I've heard about the breathing thing, but there is some neuroscience as far as getting oxygen to the brain, slowing down that emotion that comes about. When something happens in the world or with your student or with a parent, it's so easily it's so easy to react right away. And sometimes our reactions are not good ones, especially if they are anger, especially if there's an emotion like anger or frustration. It comes out in your teaching. And if you can take a 6-second pause or put questions in there or say something like, I'll think about that, or let me get back to you, anything to create space before you respond is huge. It lessens your
Mhm.
stress. And if you make it a practice to do so, thinking about it ahead of time, your stress levels can go down during the day.
Yeah, and I think too, to just really, like, I found for me that just realizing that whatever has caused this situation that is causing this emotion to come on up, very rarely does it have to do with me.
Yeah.
It has to do with what happened earlier in the day to somebody or some other situation that has caused them to react or respond in the way that they are reacting, which then they just kind of want to throw something out there. And I think here's the one thing that I have learned through my years and years and years of continually to grow myself is hurt people hurt people. So if there's something that's
Hmm.
causing hurt to them and they start taking it out on you, realize that it probably has nothing to do with you. So how can you respond in a calm manner? And it might not, it might be, I can't answer that right now. Like, like
Yeah.
it might be like if you get an email and it's real just it feels very offensive to you, walk away. Like, just come
Yeah.
back to it later when you can look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. I have found that sometimes I'll, like, reread something, be like, "Oh, wow, I have no idea why I was thinking that they were saying this." Sometimes, like, I can, like, read it and I'm like I just, like, skim real quickly and I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna deal with the response to that later." And then I come back to it later, I'm like, "Okay, I could have sworn it said something about this and it didn't." And so sometimes our own headspace really makes a huge difference when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, you're creating that space. You're
Yeah.
creating a pod, and then you look at things differently. And there's always something behind a reaction. You alluded to that earlier. It's a belief that we have. It can be things that happen to us earlier on in the day, or it can be the day before, or it can trigger a fear in
Mhm.
us. Overwhelm is actually it's an emotion, and the root of that is a fear of not getting things done, fear of not getting things done well enough, which can back up into I'm not good enough for this, or I don't have the ability to do this. There's always something behind the emotion, and normally it's a fear or shame response, and it goes back to what you're saying: hurt people. So if you can put that pause, if you can create that space, and then come on over to my website and we'll dig deeper into why you are reacting the way that you are. My son used to say to me, "Mom, I just fly off the handle easily. That's just the way I was born." No, not really. Flying off the handle is a choice. And
Mhm.
once you become aware of it, you can make changes and create that space and that pause so that you can choose a different type of response.
Yeah.
We have choices, and I think another thing that really triggers people is control. You really want to think about whatever I'm getting upset about, can I control that situation? Do I have any control over it? Because if
Mhm.
you don't have control over it, it's not worth your time to get upset or to get angry about it, because you can't do anything initially with that. You know,
Yeah.
that's the first question I ask myself. When I see something that I don't like, I think to myself, do I have control over this? Can I do anything about this? And if I can't, then I walk away. I think about the emotion that I have and release it in a different way.
Yeah. And I think that's that is really a powerful, powerful point. Here's something else that I realized over time. The advice that I'm giving to others is sometimes the advice that I need to be taking.
Yes.
Man,
Yeah.
is that one a tough one? Um,
Yeah.
and so like I have a mom. We have like we have a mixed relationship. She calls me for advice all the time. Usually, like, the kid asks their parent for advice all the time. My mom's asking me for advice all the time. But I always think about, like, the advice that I'm giving. I'm like, there's a reason why I'm giving her this advice. Is there something in my life that I need to be taking a look at that I need to be applying this advice to? And so I always
Right.
come out of that conversation almost feeling like better versus I used to feel drained sometimes from those types of conversations, but now I feel empowered from those conversations because they allow me to actually look at myself from a different viewpoint. And when you start looking at the world from that lens, things start to not bother you as much and you're able to go with the flow and life feels easy and feels good and you have a lot less resistance that's building on up, and I think that is so, so powerful.
Yeah, you just switched there with your mom, or from reacting to responding. You chose. And when you become a responder, you do become more empowered because you have more control. You're looking at what you can control instead of things that you can't control. And that's an excellent point that you just made there. Becoming a responder not only applies to, our students in tutoring, it's all of our relationships.
Yeah.
And I think when I was doing research on this, one of the biggest things that made me stop in my tracks is how I respond is passed down to my children.
Yeah.
They watch what you do. My own children do. Not only, do the children that we tutor notice how you respond or react, but your own children, how you respond is passed down to them. And that really made me sit up and take a look and think, I got to put some more time to this. I need to think about, I need to dress my mindset in the morning when I get up. Not only dress myself, but dress my mind. How am I going to respond to the world today? It's all about switching from an outside in, reaction to an inside out response. And the difference of those two ways of looking at life changes the outcomes in your life, and it also changes your behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And it's crucial. Like when we talk about keeping your students long term,
Yes,
this is one of the secret elements that a lot of people aren't talking about, right?
right.
Like, I mean, when you have a student who all of a sudden is like responding in this real negative way or reacting in a negative way, we have to look at it from that response perspective versus the reacting perspective and think about what
Right.
is the best thing that I can do in this situation. And when you do that, you build stronger relationships with that gives you the opportunity, I say, to build those stronger relationships with the families that you work with and be able
Yes.
to communicate well with them. I mean, communication is a big piece. Everybody thinks that the biggest piece in their business is marketing and getting students, and that is a big piece of the puzzle. But a bigger piece of the puzzle is to keep those students so that you don't have to keep filling that space, right? And if you learn these types of tactics, they can allow you to keep your students longer so that you can continue to serve them and help them meet their needs and their growth.
And when you teach your student to be a responder, huge. When you draw their attention to how they're reacting when they're saying, I just can't do math. I was born like this and I just can't get this problem. I don't know how many times I'm going to try. I'm just not going to get this problem. When you stop them and put in the word yet, the power of yet, which comes from Carol Dweck, when you say, well, I might not be able to do this problem yet, but you can. When you change how they react to situations, when you have them create a space, when you draw their attention to their thoughts, oh my gosh, that is the power of responding right there, because
Hmm.
that will produce a different outcome all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Now let's go into it, Nathaniel, here, because you kind of did go from small potatoes. When we think about working for other companies and them not paying very well, that is small potatoes. For me, my small potatoes was the limited thinking that I had. I just want to replace my income. If I could find a way to replace that $50,000 income that I had in the school system, I felt like that would be I'd be golden. Like that's all I need to do. But even I have surpassed that over and over again every single year by, um multiple six-figure income business, and I'm so glad that I didn't stay stuck in that small potato type of mindset. What is some tips that you can give people for that going from that small potato mindset to that big income, growing a tutoring business mindset?
Oh, what a great question. Thank you. Also, congratulations. Good for you. Oh, I'm
Thank
so happy
you.
for you. That's so great. The biggest one that I've encountered is when people come from, especially the public school system, but also the private school system, into private tutoring and believe that they should only be making a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
And I encourage all of the teachers and tutors out there to not be limited by the severe undervaluing that our society performs on teachers and their role in our community, because teachers are not paid well enough and they're not respected well enough. And that's a really internalized mindset for almost everybody I know who works in those systems. And the thing is like, private tutoring is a different business. It is education, but you are not limited by what the federal government or the state government or the board is paying you. You can figure it out on your own. And that's where the entrepreneurship comes into play, because the sky's the limit. You can, as long, whatever you have that is of value that you are going to give to the world, like, you can charge as much as people will pay for it. That's one of the nice things about capitalism.
Right.
There are many flaws with capitalism, but one of the nice things is if you have something that's valuable and people want it, they'll pay for it. So there's that's a huge mindset change. And, you know, when I first started tutoring, I was making maybe $23, $24 an hour. And now I don't have time to take a student myself for less than $250. And the very first thing that people say when I say that is, you charge too much. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, how could that possibly be? You're scamming people. That's really awful. Like, why are you like doing that to people? Why are you charging that much? And I'm like, first of all, they said yes. I told them this is what it costs. And if you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. By all means, go somewhere else. It's the same thing where if you were trying to replace something for your house, and you paid more money to a different contractor because you thought they were going to do a better job, or they were going to give you something that you couldn't get from somebody else. The exact same concept, but people are really limited by their belief that teachers should be poor or not, or struggle, or only make a certain amount of money. And that's just a pile of, you know what. So that can be a really difficult mindset to overcome. And I would really challenge people to examine why they think that way. Who taught you that?
Yes.
Why can teachers only make a certain amount of money? Like, why is it wrong or bad for a teacher to make six figures? Why do you think that that's a bad thing? And because it's not, it's really not. It's just a preconceived belief and this notion that we've been taught by the system. So that was one of the big things for me, is that I believed that teachers made a certain amount of money, and I was shooting for that, kind of like you, Joanne. I was like, if I can make this particular amount, that would be fine. And then when I expanded past that, and I thought, instead of limiting myself here, how can I be of the most service to the most people? And then the money took care of itself, because I was not focused on, I mean, to be fair, it is difficult to have that mindset if you always have to choose the less expensive can of beans at the grocery store. Like, if you are really struggling to pay the bills and aren't in a position to say no to any work, that can be really, really hard, because you just need it. You need the money to pay your bills. But once you have built past that, and you're no longer coming from a place of need, and instead coming from a place of service, you're able to expand what you can do, and then the money will follow. Like the lifestyle and the money will follow that, because you are helping more people. And so that's one of the things that I think people get wrong about capitalism. And so, of course, sometimes people are crooks. Of course, sometimes people are taking people for all they're worth. But my company doesn't work like that. I work really hard to charge rates, and I pay my tutors whatever they want to make. I ask them to set their own rates, and then I am completely transparent with them about what my expenses are and why I charge the clients what I charge them. And it's still less than a lot of the tutoring companies who offer the same service as I do, because I don't need to get out a money rake. I just want to be adequately compensated for the time and effort that I'm putting in. And then the tutor can make what they want to make, and the client pays less. Everybody wins. It's fantastic. It's something I really love about owning my own business. And so one of the ways I went from scrounging to really feeling like I'm being of service to a lot of people is I built the company that I wanted to be a part of, that's built on kindness and service, instead of out of, how much money can the owner make?
Right.
which is yucky to me. And I really like that. And I feel very happy with it. Not very much money, to be honest, that I make as the company owner from each hour that my tutors spend, because I don't need it. They're the ones doing the work. I got to pay my taxes on it. I got to pay for the software that we use. I got to pay, for my lead generation and my marketing and that kind of thing. But they're the ones doing the work, so they should be making the most money in the equation. That's how I feel about it. And it really, it felt so amazing to break out of this tutor mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm making $50 an hour and the company I work for is charging $220, and to break out of that system and create my own system that my tutors love to be in, that my students get the very, very best. Like, I choose these tutors. I know, and I've done it for almost a decade. Like, I know who's good and who isn't.
Yeah.
And so like the students are able to get a really, really wonderful educator to help them and mentor them. And the parents pay less than they might for, well, they pay plenty, but it's less than they might for this, for Ivy League level service from Ivy League graduates. And it's been wonderful. I really love it. And I love helping people in that way. And I had a kid Instagram me the other day, and he said, hey, I watched your videos on Instagram and TikTok, and I used them to apply to college, and I got into my first choice with a full ride. I just wanted you to know.
Ooh.
And I almost cried because I was able to do that for him for free. He didn't pay a cent, but he
Right.
was able to use my knowledge and expertise to do it. And this kid I don't know him very well, but he must be very capable and
Right.
very self-motivated to have like taken that. Because what I usually have to do is like help kid hold their hand a little bit through that process. But he was clearly very self-motivated. And that's such a joy for me to know that he was able to make it happen on his own, and I could help him, even though I didn't make any money off of it. That's great. That's what I'm here to do. So that was really lovely. So anyway,
Yeah.
the mindset shifts are really important, as well as the putting your big person pants on and saying, you know what, I'm going to have to pay for subscriptions to, Zoom or Tutorbird or whatever other things that you use to make your life easier, because I am a professional and I want to have a professional setup. I'm going to invest money in my setup and make sure I have good equipment and that I'm providing the best possible service, because I am investing in myself and my company, and I want to give people the very best that I possibly can.
Mhm.
And that's hard, because a lot of people want to just have no expenses and just do it. And
Right.
that makes sense. I get it. But that's like
That's not the
not really how it
reality.
works.
Yeah.
That's not a professional way to view having a tutoring company or a tutoring business,
Yeah.
because any other business, you don't have to pay a lease. You don't have to have a commercial space where you do it. You don't have to, you may travel to your students, but you don't have to do that. So being a grown up about this is what it costs and this is what I have to do is actually going to make you more money in the long run, because that's an
Yeah.
investment, not an expense.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a huge difference. So learning the difference between an investment and an expense will transform your business practice, because you'll make smarter choices with your money, and then it will pay off for you later.
Yeah, we went deeper into that too in our conversation with you and Alex. So people definitely have to tune on in, because there is a mindset shift when it comes to that money. And I say that we need to even go a little bit deeper with that money mindset. Where did it start? What were the beliefs of our
Mhm.
parents? Because our parents, they transcend their beliefs and thoughts on their children. And we just automatically kind of glob onto them until we start thinking for ourselves and then begin to start challenging some of those beliefs and thoughts, like money doesn't grow on trees. Wait a minute. If money is made out of paper, then doesn't it sort of grow on trees? And if you're not backed by the gold standard, can't it just be made more and more of? Yeah. So you have to like challenge some of those thoughts and those beliefs and just know that there is enough for everyone to go around. We do not have to. And I think that the people that struggle the most when it comes to spending money on their business, they're also the ones that they don't want to charge their clients a lot of money because they don't think that they can afford it. And I don't know why this is like one of the only I don't know if this is one of the only businesses that does this, but we want to work with all the kids that can't afford our services. What about all of the other kids that are out there in the world? Do they not deserve your services? Who can afford your the service that you have? Don't you want to put your business out there in front of a community of people that can afford your services? Like, why do we like all of a sudden be like, I know that we're really good hearted and we're really good natured. And you know what? When you've got money, you can be even more good natured with your
That's right.
money. You can decide, where am
Right.
I going to donate my money? What nonprofit is there out there that I can be able to share the abundance that I have been given? Or, even like, how can I give my kids a little bit of an upper hand in the starting of life, right? Like my big goal was to have my kids graduate from college debt free so that they could start their life not in owing for their education and their house and all of that. My goal has been to save money for them, to give them that upper hand, right? I could have been spending all that money on myself or things that I wanted to do, but I chose to save the money in that way so that I could help them out with so they didn't have to experience some of the money struggles that I experienced, and, letting them know that I wanna pass on this idea to them that there is and we have so much abundance in this world. Just walk into Walmart. I'm serious, you guys. Do you know how much stuff Walmart sells? Like, look at all of the stuff that one store sells. If you can't tell me that there's abundance in this world, just walking into Walmart. And it's all at a
You
price
know,
point you can afford. It just you happen to walk out and you can't, like, walk out without spending 102 or $200 because there's so much stuff you thought you needed that you had to have inside of your world or whatever, but, you know, we have so much abundance in our life, and I think we need to come at our business with that. There's an abundance of students out there for us. There's you know, people will pay us what we are worth if we tell them what it is that we are worth. Once we figure that piece out for ourselves, we can begin charging what we're worth. And think about the money that they're saving later on in life. Because later on in life, they are going to have to go with this mindset of, you know, can I afford this? Can I not afford this? Yes, you can afford this. Do you want to spend your money on it is a different question, right? So now instead of looking at
Yeah.
something, looking at the price, I used to look at the price tag of everything and I'd be like, oh, I can't afford that. I would just say all the time, look at the price tag, say I can't afford that. I've totally changed it to, oh, I can afford that. Do I value it enough for that price point? I may or I may not. And people are like, yeah, I'm gonna like I am gonna value it for that price point. And then I purchase it. But tutoring services are exactly the same way. It's about the value that we offer and do people know what that value is? Once people know the value that you offer and the price point that you have it at, they get to then make that decision. Is that what I value and is that what I want to help my child be able to do? It's gonna save them money over time. With college, I mean, with a AP test, I know lots of AP tutors who are out there helping kids with getting that 4 or the 5. That's gonna save them money in college, right? Getting the help now is gonna save them tons of time, let's say, with reading, right? That's gonna give save them lots of time with all their other, subjects. They'll spend less time reading because they can read faster and they can understand better, right? Which is gonna get them more education, and that is going to evolve them. It's not like we have to convince our parents, like, what the value is. We just have to show them what do we bring to the table that maybe is different than what other people bring to the table, and how do we do that? What's that value that we're offering? And if you come from that value-based pricing, you very rarely are actually and if you're good at marketing that value price market that value pricing, like the value, not that your budget, like I'm the cheapest tutor out there, but the value bring to the table. That's the first thing that's out there. Do they know what that value is? Can they go to your website and figure that out? If they can't, guess what? You look like every other tutor. And therefore, why should I pay that? Right? Like, if somebody told me, like, right out of the gate, like, let's say I didn't learn anything about Nathaniel, what he does, or any of that kind of stuff. And I just said, so Nathaniel, how much do you charge? And he's like, $250 an hour for SAT, tutoring. And I look at him and like, well, how many hours do you usually work with each of your students, Nathaniel?
10 to 14.
Okay, so I automatically have come up with 2,500 inside of my head. Oh, do I want to spend $2,500 on that? Right? Like, that thought goes through my process and like, "Oh, I don't know anything about the value he brings to the table, just it's gonna cost me $2,500." Guess what? I know somebody can do that cheaper. I'll go where I can find them. Because I didn't find the time out to figure out what his value is. So I think that's really the big point. And you guys are all just going to have to tap on in to both of these incredible speakers during Impact 3. If you haven't signed up, the link is in the description. If you can't find it, reach out to me. I'll personally send it to you. But this is a free education for all. So if you're in that beginning stage of your business, you're like, I can't afford anything right now. You can afford something, and that is your time. So take the time, spend it with us because we are here to freely give what we know, and we're not holding things back because we think you should pay for them, right? You may decide you want to work further with us because you want to develop something further, or you may decide that there will be value in being able to continue to work with us. Cool. But we're really here to add value to you. So definitely come and join us and be part of the conversation. Nathaniel and Vanessta, I would love to know from you guys when it comes to conferences and attending conferences that are going to help us grow. What are some of the benefits that you guys see from attending conferences like this?
Well, I think for me, it's bringing an awareness. And since I'm in the mindset work, it's bringing an awareness to how you think. I mean, when you were talking about, you know, people think about money the way they were raised or how much you should charge can be based on how you were raised or some habits that your parents had. If you're not aware of that, you'll just continue charging less. It just, your mindset doesn't change. When you're a part of programs like this that make you aware, if you sit down and think, well, why am I afraid to charge a certain amount? Why do I think that I'm not worth that? Why do I think I'm not professional enough? When you ask those questions of yourself, that's the first step in change, is bringing an awareness to your thoughts. So
Yeah.
I think conferences like this are fantastic.
Yeah. How about you, Nathaniel?
For me, it's often been about finding community. And I presented a lot of conferences across many fields, including dance and theater and education and small business stuff. And finding people who are going through what you're going through can be really, really helpful because you can be accountable to each other and also develop a friendship and say, let's like check in from time to time and like see how we're doing and learn how to apply these things to our own lives. It's really, that can be so, so important. And the other thing is the people, when people are giving their time to speak at conferences, you may or may not agree with what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally fine. You don't have to take everything that's given to you, but surely you'll find something. Or you'll find something you disagree with and you will know, I'm not going to do it that way. And that's also
Yeah.
fine. Make your
Yeah.
own choices. And not,
Mm-hmm.
the way that I run my business isn't for everyone. And the mindset work that I've done isn't the way that everybody else is gonna like find
Mm-hmm.
the way that makes them the happiest to live. It's different for everybody, and that's great. But you'll find something that's gonna be helpful as long as you're looking for it. As long as you're,
Yeah.
and be brave. Like, oh, you know what? That sounds silly to me, but like, try it. See what happens. What do you have to
Yeah.
lose?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. 100%. We had a tutor that attended the very last conference, and I remember him, throughout this whole thing, he was working for other companies and getting paid for them. And he kept messaging me during the conference and saying, my big goal is to, leave these other companies and go solo on my own. But he's like, I just never really believed that that was something that I could do. I don't have a degree. I don't have this. I don't have that. And guess what, you guys? He has gone completely solo. He is charging he's I know he's charging, like, double what he was charging or getting paid at the tutoring company, and he's working less hours, and he's booked 17 students since that last conference this summer. So, if anything, like you guys are thinking about right now, like, that is gold right there, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
by attending this, just even having the belief that this can be done and I can do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
just attend and join us. So thank you guys for joining us, Nathaniel and
Yeah,
Vanessta. So glad to have you. And you
fun to
guys are
be
going to
here.
have to now come join us during Impact so you can hear what they have to say on each of their topics. So thanks for joining us. Everyone, enjoy your holiday season, and we'll see you guys next